Hello everyone! On behalf of Rainbow Loom, this is Angelyn, formerly known as Tutorials by A here on YouTube. Today I'm here to show you how to create the Love Note bracelet. Just in time for Valentine's Day, this bracelet has hearts that you can kind of see through the front through this white lattice pattern, but you can especially see them on the back as this bracelet is reversible. And I just think it's so cute. I love anything that has to do with hearts. This design is an intermediate level design. It does also require a little bit of patience as the bands during the hooking process can be under some high tension, so you just want to go slow to make sure that you don't break any rubber bands. This can be made on 1 or 2 looms. I highly recommend doing 2 so that way you can get this more extended design. I still had to add an extension onto the 2 loom version, but of course a much smaller extension than on 1 loom. But in case you just have 1 loom, today I'll be showing you how to make this shortened version. And now without further ado, let's get started with what you'll need to make this bracelet. To make this bracelet, you will of course need a rainbow loom. I have the 2.0 here, but if you have the original rainbow loom, which looks like this, you can also use this as well. You'll also need a hook, and some sort of closure for your bracelet like a C-clip or a G-clip. For rubber band counts for the 1 loom version of this bracelet, you will need 28 for the lattice, which is this darker pink here and the white on this one. In addition to those 28 lattice bands, I used 14 as an extension on this one that I made with 1 loom. On 2 looms I used 5 just for reference. And then for this 1 loom version, you'll need 22 total bands for the hearts. On this one, they're the light pink and white bands. And on this one, they're the pink, orange, and blue bands here. And now we're ready to begin. The first bands we'll be placing are the lattice bands. On this bracelet, they're white, and on this one, they're this darker pink. I highly recommend using a contrasting color for this just so you can see the lattice pattern better. Obviously you can see it better on this with the white than you can on this bracelet here. So I'll be using white again today. Going to make sure that my loom is oriented correctly by making sure that this arrow down here pointing up says the number 1 next to it, and my pins are in a U-shaped position. So we're starting off with the lattice bands. We'll be placing these in a border shape, so 1 single chain going down the left side and another single chain going down the right. Taking my first band, I'm simply going to place this on the bottom center pin and lay it like that. This will help us close up our bracelet later on. Now to start the border, I'm first going to take my rubber band and place it on the bottom center pin and extend it up to this left one here. I'll do the left side border first, so taking my next band, I'm going on the left, vertically from the bottom left pin up to the next pin above it. Then we'll continue this to the end of our loom, stopping at this pin here. So another band going vertically here, and another one. After this band, we're not going to place another one going vertically, but rather diagonally to this top center pin. Like that. So this is what my loom looks like now. You should have a single chain all the way down the left side, and we're going to do the same exact thing to the right side. So taking a single band, I'm going to extend it from this bottom center pin up to the right side this time. Then we'll go vertically from the bottom right pin up 1, and then we'll continue this single chain down our loom, stopping at the second to last pin like we did on the left side. Here is our last band on the right, going from this second to last pin, not this one, but this one, up to the center pin there. So this is what my loom looks like now. And at this time, we're now going to place our heart bands. On this bracelet, they're the pink, orange, and blue bands, and on this one, a little bit harder to see, but they're the white and light pink bands. Today, I'm going to be alternating between light pink, dark pink, and red. Before I start placing these, I'm just going to push down the border bands to make room for the heart bands. And now we'll start placing. So I'm taking my first heart band color and I'm going to place it from the bottom left pin to the center pin here, like that. So it should be going diagonally upwards, and then we'll do the same thing on the right side. This bottom right pin up to the center pin here. So everything that we do to the left we'll do to the right basically on this bracelet, so it'll all be symmetrical. My next band color is this dark pink. I'm going on this next pin above what we had just placed the light pink bands on. I'm going on the next one and placing this and extending it to the center pin here, going diagonally up. And then same thing on the right side, going diagonally up. With my next color, which is red, I'm going to go to the next pin here, place this on the left side, go diagonally up, and then the same thing on the right side, diagonally up. So we kind of have these upside down V shapes going, and we're going to continue this all the way down our loom. I'll show you a couple more times. Diagonally up on the left, and now diagonally up on the right. Again with my next color, diagonally up on the left, and diagonally up on the right. At this point, I'm going to continue the rest of my loom and fast forward this portion, but feel free to pause if you need more time or rewatch the previous portion if you need more help. Here's my last band, and we won't be adding any to this top set of pins here. So at this point, this is what my loom looks like now. And I'm now going to rotate my loom 180 degrees. And now at the bottom we should have an arrow pointing up with the number 2. This last band here of our border color is going to be our cap band, which will be added to this bottom center pin. There's 2 ways you can do this. If you have this plastic hook with the cap band applicator at the end, you can use this to add it on by just taking your one band, adding it to the end, wrapped around once, and then twist, and then a second time. So it's a single band doubled over on the end of this hook, and then we'll add it to this pin right here by placing the end of this hook onto the pin and then sliding this band down, like that. If you don't have this hook, you can just take the cap band, wrap it once around the pin, twist, and then place it on again a second time. So it's just a single band doubled over onto this bottom center pin. And now we're ready to start the hooking process. The first bands we'll hook are this one, followed by this one. So taking my hook, I'm going inside of the cap band here. There's 2 layers for the cap band, and I'm using the back of my hook to push these out of the way. And then I'm going to grab the 3rd layer here with my hook, and I'll remove it from this pin. And I'm going to hook this onto this left pin here, but don't let go yet because we're also going to wrap it around this center pin above as well, like that. We'll do the same thing with this band on the right. I'm going inside the top 2 layers here, which are the cap band, and grabbing the bottom layer. So just to give you another view of this, I'm going inside the top 2 layers, grabbing the bottom one with my hook, and then pulling this off of the pin. This will be hooked onto the right pin on this side here, as well as the top center pin again here, like that. Next, we'll be hooking the heart-shaped bands here. So it's these dark pink bands for me, and it'll be the left one first and then the right one. So I'm going inside of here and making sure that I'm going in through these white bands here and pushing them out of the way with the back of my hook. Then I'm grabbing the next layer, which is this pink one, and this is the one on the left. We'll simply hook this up to the left one like that, and then we'll go back in and grab the right one. And hook it over to the right. So those are the 2 steps of this bracelet that we'll be alternating. First the white border bands, and then the heart-shaped bands. So next we're going back to do this white border band on the left and the right. Starting with the left one, I'm reaching my hook in and pushing these top 2 layers out of the way, And then the third layer is this rubber band, which we'll be grabbing. So I'm reaching in and grabbing this bottom layer, which is the third one, and hooking it onto the pin above here, as well as the pin in the center up here. So you should be hooking this band up one and then up another, but diagonally for the second one. So now to do this one back here again, I'm reaching inside of here, pushing the top two layers out of the way and grabbing this third layer, hooking it onto the right pin over here, and then up to the center pin where we had placed that other white border band here. You can see the start of the lattice forming here. After we do the border or the lattice bands, which are white for me, we're going back in to do the heart on this next pin. This is the center pin that we had just placed the lattice bands onto up to here. So now I'm doing the right side of the heart, and then we're going back to do the border band right here, and then I'll do the right. So I'm going inside all of these layers here, reaching inside and going to the very bottom to grab this border band, pulling very slowly and carefully to make sure nothing breaks, and I'm hooking this up one, and then up and diagonally another. Same thing on the right side, going to the very bottom and grabbing this bottom band, going up one, and then up and diagonally one more, like that. This pin in the center that we had just hooked the lattice bands onto, or the border bands, this is where we're gonna go in to grab the next heart bands. And you can tell that they're the next set of pins that need the heart bands to be hooked, because we had already hooked these ones. Then I'm doing the right side, and then we're going back one to do the border bands to make the lattice. So I'm going inside here, grabbing the very bottom band, hooking it slowly up one and up diagonally to the center one. And on the right side, hooking this one slowly up one and then up another to the center, so up and diagonal, like this. Next is the heart bands that are on this center pin. And then we'll go back again to grab this border band to make the lattice. So reaching in and grabbing the very bottom band, and then going up and diagonal. Same thing on the right, I'm going up and diagonal. Then we're doing the heart again. And then the border bands to make the lattice. Up one, up and diagonal another, reaching in here and going up one, and then up and diagonal another. So at this point, I'm going to continue the rest of my loom and fast forward, but again, feel free to pause if you need more time or rewind if you need more help. When we reach the end of our loom here, I'm going to do the last set of heart bands. And then the last set of the vertical border bands to make the lattice. And this is going to go up to this very top center pin. Same thing on the right. Up to the top center pin. And then the last bands we have to hook are this one down here and this one down here. So it's just the bottom band when you reach in here, down to the bottom, grab this, and then I'm hooking this up to the center. Be sure to go slow so you don't break any bands. Hooking this up to the center, like that. And now this is what my loom looks like. Here at the top we have the one loose band that we had placed earlier, and this is what we're going to use to make it easier to get our bracelet off of the loom, and this will help us add the extension on later. So I'm going to take my hook and insert it into this pin right here. So go inside all of them and then grab this loose band that we had placed here. So just to give you a little better of a view, I'm going inside all of these bands right here on this pin with my hook, using the back of my hook to push this out of the way, and then I'm grabbing the loose band at the very bottom and pulling it up over this pin like this. With the other end of the band that I've been holding with my left hand, I'm going to add this back onto the hook here, and then we can slide this up the hook just to make sure it's secure. So this band right here, when you tug on it, which tug very gently, just so that way it doesn't break, it should be holding all of the layers of rubber bands that are on this topmost pin here. And as long as that band is holding everything, we're now ready to remove this from the loom. I find it a little easier to pull this off when I start at the bottom here, so I'm just gonna go down here. If you have another hook, it definitely helps to use a hook to remove this, especially to make sure that you don't break any rubber bands. Just make sure that you're being gentle, since the lattice bands were stretched quite a bit when we were looming. So here is my bracelet. It's looking so cute. I can't get over how the white looks. I think it looks so good with the other colors. If you have some bands that are out of order, like you see here, this pink one is on top of the white lattice border band. I'm going to pull the white one over like that. This is just part of cleaning up the work, which is one of my favorite steps of making a bracelet, because I love to make sure that everything looks nice and pretty. I have another one here where this white one could be pulled over this pink a little bit better. I'm also going to give this a little stretch just to even out the placement of all of the rubber bands. And now we still have to add our extension on. This extension is just a simple single chain. For this one I used 14. I have a relatively small wrist, so depending on your wrist size, you might want to use more or less. I'm just going to use the same color that I had used for the lattice or the border portion of this bracelet. So I'm going to take my first band, go from the center up to the right, my next one going from the right to the left, and then we'll make a zigzag down our loom. And like I said, mine will be 14 bands long. So this is what my loom looks like, just a simple single chain. So whatever pin is at the top here is going to be the pin that receives our transferred bracelet. On my hook here, I've got 2 layers of rubber bands, and these are the 2 that we're going to transfer onto this top pin here. So for me, I'm going to stretch this out with my hook, and I'm going to insert my index finger into the same 2 loops that my hook is holding. And this will just make it easier to place it onto this top pin here and release. At this point, I'm going to rotate my loom 180 degrees, and now we're ready to start hooking. So I'm gonna go inside the top 2 layers, which are from my bracelet, and grab the bottom layer, and this bottom layer is for the single chain, and go up here, going inside the 2 layers at the top here, grabbing the bottom layer, which is also the 3rd one, and hooking to the right. And then we'll continue this process to the end of our loom. If you happen to need more help with the single chain, please check out the video in the description box below for an in-depth tutorial. Now at the top of my loom, just gonna finish this single chain off. At this point, you'll want to grab your C-clip or G-clip, whichever closure you have, and whatever 2 layers are on your topmost pin here is what you're gonna want to grab with your closure. So for my C-clip, I'm gonna grab these 2 layers here, like this, and when you pull on this C-clip, it should be these 2 layers of bands that are on the top pin that are being pulled. And if so, then you're safe to take your bracelet off the loom. I'm going to untwist any twisted bands here in my single chain. Then to connect the 2 ends of our bracelet together, I'm going to grab the end with the C-clip and then slide our cap band at the opposite end into the C-clip. For me, I used white. It should be this little circle-shaped band at the end, like that. And here is our completed bracelet. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial on how to make the Love Note bracelet. I can't get over how cool these white lattice bands look on this design. I love how it's reversible as well, because the back looks so different from the front. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel if you would like to see more tutorials like this. If you're not already following Rainbow Loom on our social media accounts, you can find them in the description box below. Be sure to share your creations to #RainbowLoom and tag this username in the caption so that way our team can like and share your posts. All of the supplies that I used today can be found at rainbowloom.com or at our partner retailers. And again, thanks so much for watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you in Rainbow Loom's next tutorial. Bye!